Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of In the Box. It's our first episode in like 2 to 3 weeks. That's my bad. I kind of just was busy and had some equipment problems. But Babiak, how are we doing? We are back.
I don't think the people missed us too much. August is the slowest month of the year, and it's been extra slow.
You're telling me they weren't chomping at the bit for a Gabe Vilardi instant breakdown on his 6 year deal?
Literally, if he signed the exact same contract in July, they would have been. But I think even like most of the fans are doing something else, waiting until September these
Yeah,
days.
yeah. We don't have a ton of news, but we're gonna rip some hot takes and some big four early awards picks. Some of the deals that we are gonna talk about to start out though is the Samberg 3 year deal, Velarde 6 year deal, the Jackson Blake 8 year extension, Dostal 5 years 6.5, and Bowen Byram's extension for 2 years. So yeah, we're gonna dive into it. Again, it's not the most impactful show of all time, but we're gonna have a good time. We're just gonna speculate with some hot takes and some award picks. And starting it off, we're gonna talk about the most recent deal that was signed. Dylan Samberg, 3 years, 5.75. It literally came down to like the arbitration hearing day, which like that whole shitstorm like 2 days before when he was asking for $6 million. People thought he was absolutely ridiculous. And then he ends up signing at 5.75. It's a good deal the next 3 years. Samberg was amazing this year. He really added like his first objectively good season this year for the Winnipeg Jets at 26 years old. I get that like Winnipeg's window is probably the next like 3 to 4 years, but I would have liked them to go to like 6, 7 years and just get more like surplus value towards the end of it on a guy that I'm decently high on. What's your initial read on this?
I'm happy with where it's at. I disagree about going long term on this. I mean, as you said, Samberg just had his first actual, like, no asterisk good season in a year where everyone on Winnipeg had career seasons, it felt like. So I think it's totally normal that, team wise, you would want to bridge him and say, well, can he do it again? Or is it maybe more of a 1 year fluke when it felt like everyone in Winnipeg had a 1 year fluke?
I think
That being said, based purely on how he played last year, it's a great value, and his arbitration ask of 6 mil was totally fair in the first place. I think the
mhm.
team's arbitration ask of 2 point something was
2.5 was it?
completely
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, people are like he's way closer to 2.5. Like people just don't understand like how the arbitration works. We went through this with Jeremy Swayman. Like the team lowballs them to like an egregious rate. Usually the player, although he asks for a little bit too much, usually the players, like the player usually is closer in value. So like the arbitration pisses me off with that in terms of people just not understanding. And they thought at the time you can only sign a 1 year deal only if they actually go to the hearing during the arbitration process. They can negotiate it like they did with this. Again, I don't know if I would have given him like a 7 or an 8 year deal, but I thought like 5 years, throw an extra like $500,000, 6.25. And especially although I agree it is 1 year, maybe it could be kind of fluky. The fact that he was just so good defensively makes me more inclined to think that it wasn't a fluke compared to maybe if he was just some offensive defenseman that was zipping out there on the second power play, playing a lot with that top line of the Winnipeg Jets. Then I would understand maybe the fluke argument so much, but he was just so defensively sound for them this year and probably was their second best defenseman, like point blank period behind Josh Morrissey, where I don't think it's a fluke. Do I think that he's going to be consistently like top 10 in defenseman war like he was this season, according to Evolving Hockey? No, but I think he's going to be well worth this. And I think that they're going to have to pay when he's an unrestricted free agent. They might have to give him some kind of 7, 8 year deal at $8 million by then, where it's going to be like you could have locked him up for more at the time.
Yeah, it's there's risk and reward on for both the player and the team in that way, because it's possible it is a fluke. Although I agree enough that him being so strong defensively and such a
Mm-hmm.
smart player, even if his being that high level is kind of a fluke, I think he has a very high floor where he's not going to be unplayable at any point in the next 8 years. He's going to be worth something, even if it's as a bottom pair defensive guy. But it is true that we could be looking at this in 3 years and saying, wow, he's going to get paid like a legit top pair guy because he's West Coast slaving at that point. It's
Yeah,
possible.
yeah, it definitely is possible. And also, I just wanted to go longer because say if Winnipeg only has, even if they only have 3 to 4 years, he could be an appetizing trade package in terms of getting younger if he had 2, 3 years left at a reasonable like 6.5 versus now they're probably going to be good the next 2 to 3 years. And then they're probably just going to swallow it and just decide to give him some kind of egregious contract. And then it might be negative value once they're starting to slide down instead of, oh, a 5 to 6 year deal. And oh, maybe by that fourth year of the deal, we're kind of going downhill and we could trade you. That's not an option now. But at the end of the day, if they go on some kind of deep Stanley Cup run, it's well worth it. Just in the salary cap, we've seen so much this offseason. We're going to talk about it, especially with the Jackson Blake one. Teams betting on their young guys, despite not having a big sample size. I think Winnipeg is a little bit behind the curve, at least on Samberg. Vilardi, they did go a little bit longer term, but he has a much longer track record. And I think that they should have been more willing to go longer term.
I guess just agree to disagree on that point. I'm happy with where it's at.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, I think the next 3 years he's going to be a 6.5, maybe even $7 million defenseman by the end of the season. And Winnipeg is not some kind of like young up and coming team. They need to win now. But I just thought they should have got a little bit more term. A guy that they did give more term to was Gabe Vilardi, 6 years, $7.5 million. This guy had 22 goals, 36 points in 47 games in his first season in Winnipeg, then 27 goals, 61 points in 71 games. I think this is a fair deal. I think Vilardi definitely benefits a lot from playing with Kyle Connor, playing with Mark Scheifele. But at the end of the day, like during the duration of this contract, assuming that Kyle Connor resigns, he's going to be playing with those guys, and he's the perfect like net front presence. 6'3", 220-pound guy. Like, yeah, if you threw him on a different team and on a second line, he's probably not worth $7.5 million. But I think just given the stylistic fit and the clear chemistry that he's displayed with the two other guys, I think this is pretty solid value. And again, going longer term for a guy that's only 26 years old, I think he's going to age very nicely into this.
Yeah, I value Vilardi a lot. I don't agree at all that if you put him in a different team or different situation, he might not look so good. I
Well,
thought
I'm
he
saying he
was
plays with like
solid and
one of the best players in the
underrated in
NHL.
LA, and he feels underrated in Winnipeg.
Yeah, no, I just mean like if you threw him on a second line of a different team where he's not playing with Mark Scheifele that had like almost 40 goals, 85 points. Kyle Connor has consistently been one of the best. Like he's in a very, very good situation. I still think he'd be a very good player somewhere else, but he is in the perfect situation. And I expect that situation, assuming Kyle Connor resigns, to stay that exact way over the next 4 to 5 years at least.
Yeah, I mean he's not a line driver, but he is a
Yeah.
very good goal scorer. He's a really good piece to have in your top six. Any team would be happy to have him there. It's a great contract, right? Because usually you think of Winnipeg having to overpay for guys who
Mhm.
weren't in Winnipeg their whole lives. Velarde is a recent trade acquisition. They did not need to overpay. This is a totally fair market deal that I could see him signing anywhere.
Yeah, especially that is a good point to bring up the Winnipeg factor. Like especially considering the guy that he got traded for, Pierre-Luc Dubois, just didn't want to be there and wanted out. So the fact that they were able to lock him up and actually got him at some solid term, I think it's good work by Kevin Sheldayoff. I wish that he had the balls to do it with Dylan Samberg, but obviously Velarde was a former first round pick, I believe, productive in LA, productive his first 2 seasons in Winnipeg. So you're a lot more willing to do this. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting going forward with the Winnipeg Jets. They have that top line. Outside of that, it's kind of underwhelming. I'm not going to lie. They need to spread the money elsewhere besides Perfetti, really.
Yeah, they let Ehlers walk, which we all knew was going to end up happening, but I don't think they did an adequate job of replacing him at all. And I do think the team is going to drop off somewhat significant. I mean,
Tell me
it's
Jonathan Tays can't
crazy
be the
the
second line
amount of
center.
people. No, I mean just it's crazy the amount of people I've seen over time who have more or less said like, "Oh, Ehlers was never that good. He's a playoff choker, all offense."
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, he was a really important part of that team, and they are going to notice him missing. Like that's a couple regular season games, if nothing else, right? You were the number one seed in the West last year, I believe.
President's
Uh,
Trophy.
yeah, that probably won't happen anyway for a number of reasons, a few regressions across the board. But like Ehlers is your third best forward last
Mm-hmm.
year, and you did not fill in that scoring at
Gustav
all.
Nyquist was Gustav Nyquist and Jonathan Tays in the aggregate. I don't think is going to do it. Yeah, they're
No.
similarly to Toronto. They're betting that yes, they might take a hit in the regular season. Yes, they might be the 3 seed in their division, but by getting more gritty, more physical come playoff time, that's just what they're betting on. Will it work out? we don't know at this point. I tend to lean like going towards the skill and the speed guys. You definitely need some kind of blend of physicality and speed and skill. But yeah, for Winnipeg in the Central Division, it is going to be war. Compared to Toronto, I think that they'll make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference rather easily. But for the Central Division, where you have Minnesota should be better, Mammoth definitely should be better. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how much of a hit in terms of the regular season Winnipeg will take next season.
Yeah, and I do think winning your division does matter. I mean, it's easy to look at Florida winning the cup and say, oh, it doesn't matter. You can be third in your division and win a cup,
Hmm.
but that's not like a super common thing overall. And getting the one seed does give you an easier playoff path. Like the Winnipeg Jets, even if the playoffs ended up not going so amazing for them last year, them getting to play St. Louis was a lot easier of a matchup than if they were playing Dallas in the first
Yeah,
round there.
no,
It does matter that they won the division. They would have been a first round out if they were involved in that Colorado Dallas series. I have no doubts about
yeah,
it.
especially because they didn't have Ehlers or someone else. Vilardi, I think maybe they had like a bunch of injuries in that first round. They were able to scrape by the skin of their teeth against the St. Louis Blues. Needed that Perfetti goal with like 2 seconds left. But yeah, I just think for Winnipeg, like if you're in a playoff spot, let's only play Connor Hellebuck like 52, 53 games. I think that that's maybe what really
Agreed. Yeah.
impact them. And also, it's obvious, it's awesome that he ended up winning the Hart Trophy, but like we don't need a 62 game amazing season by Connor Hellebuck. He can finish third in the Vezina this year. He can put up a 921 in 53 games and let someone else get their Vezina. Like he has just been far too overworked. The problem is by losing Ehlers, they might need him to play that many games just to get a divisional spot. But yeah, I think that's the one thing where if Winnipeg is starts out well, just cool it. Cool off the Jets. We've seen it multiple times. It is important to win your division, but if you are running guys absolutely into the ground, that's when it maybe does become a negative, especially with a goaltender that has so many miles on him, like Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah, with Hellebuck specifically, because we've seen year and year again,
Mhm.
it's clearly an issue. It's a consistent issue at this point for him.
All right, we're going to move on to another regular season merchant team, the Carolina Hurricanes. Jackson Blake, 8 years, $5.1 million. I like this a decent amount. I like betting on guys like this, especially although the NHL track record isn't that good. He still had 17 goals, 17 assists, 34 points, and started on the fourth line this year. In his first 38 games, he was only playing 12 minutes a night, finished out playing like 17 minutes a night in his last 42. So yeah, only shot 12%. It's not like he had 17 goals on shooting 19%. And the fact that he was so good at North Dakota in his freshman year was point per game. In his second year, 60 points and like led the team by 21 points. I think you bet on a guy like this, especially that's 20. I think he's still 21 years old. I think he has like an August birthday as a 2021 draftee. So the track record at other levels is really good. This year, especially defensively, was awesome. He was best on the Carolina Hurricanes in terms of expected goals against, ahead of Seth Jarvis at 2.02, had the seventh best or fifth best expected goals percentage total, only behind Jarvis, McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman. Although again, that was a pretty easy role to start the season. Like for a guy that was regarded as one of the better prospects in the NHL to hit the ground running, to have such defensive prowess and awareness early on in his career with still some high end skill, I think that this is going to age. I don't love it as much as the Stan Coben one, but I think worst case scenario, he's going to be like a 20-20 guy, which is easily going to be worth $5.1 million.
I mean, the actual worst case scenario is like he's an AHLer 5 years from now. I'm not saying that will happen. I
There's,
like
of
the
course, like
deal
that's like the
fine, but
bottom
like
two
let's be
percentile.
clear, it is a gamble. Giving an 8 year contract to a guy who's played one season is a gamble.
Yeah,
There
to a
is
degree.
serious risk that like, oh, he maybe will straight up not be an NHLer this whole time. I mean, if you sign Ty Smith, the Devils
But
defenseman, for
again,
eight
that was
years after his
fluky,
rookie
like bullshit
season, you'd
top
probably
power
feel pretty
play.
good
Come
about it.
on. I get
Um,
what you're saying, but again, like so good defensively.
Kotkaniemi,
Seems like
Carolina
a
gave
really good.
Kotkaniemi that very long contract based more on potential than what he'd actually done.
Who did you say?
And that's not like this awful contract, but I'm sure they would rather be paying him a little bit less than they are right
Wait,
now.
who was your example? Sorry, I was talking over you.
Kotkaniemi
Oh yeah, yeah.
gave
That's
him long term based entirely on potential, very little track record. And it's not the worst contract in the world, but I'm
mhm.
sure they wish they could have saved $1.5 million on it with how it's aged.
Yeah. That was. I think he had a decent first season with them, and then they decided to lock him up. But Yeah, that is a good point to a degree, but even with that, yeah, $4.82 million for 5 more seasons. He's still only 25 years old. Like that actually on the M Boner worst contracts poll, they put that like 14th, which I thought was just absolutely ridiculous. I understand that he's like a okay third line center, but with the salary cap going up, it's not going to be the end of the world. Yeah, but I think with Carolina just stacking these bets of Keandre Miller, of Stankoven, of Jackson Blake, as well as already having Jarvis locked up at an insane cap hit, Slavin, Aho. Like, I just like the idea of being aggressive like this, especially when you have your other main competition in the Eastern Conference. Florida is in such a good cap space situation. They definitely need to, we've talked about it at length, they need to use this salary cap space to go get a second line center. But yeah, I think Tulsky being forward thinking like this is just really going to pay off because again, this deal doesn't even kick in until the following season. Like it kicks in this year, it kicks in after the salary cap goes up another $9 million, like 104 mil. So yeah, he definitely benefits a lot from playing in the Carolina system. That's why his defensive numbers were so good. But he just seems like a perfect fit. Rod Brindamore isn't going anywhere in Carolina, and they have like just an amazing winger group right now at this point for the future that are all locked up.
I mean, it's a solid winger group. They still need more high end scoring, though. They do.
I think okay, yeah, they don't have like a true
Like
top 10 winger in the NHL, but they have Ehlers, Svechnikov, Jarvis, Stankoven, Bradley Nadeau, I'm still very high on, and
Svechnikov's a
Jackson
second
Blake.
line guy. Jarvis is a
And he's
great
making
player,
second
but
line
he's
money,
not a great scorer.
or soon
I
to be
mean,
second
it's
line number.
Jackson Blake is, like you said, he's a Carolina player. At some point, Carolina needs to stop adding guys who are just Carolina
No, that's fair.
players and start looking towards scoring.
Yeah, but
This
again,
contract won't stop them from doing that. I think there's a better than 50% chance that it works out. But I don't love it like that. I think there's risks and it doesn't fill a need. It
I
doesn't.
think there's like a 20% chance he's not worth it. Even when not worth it, I think that's like 500 to $1 million. I
Yeah,
don't
like a
think it's that much.
Kotkaniemi, like
Yeah,
it's not a good contract, but he's still a playable bottom
and
sixer.
again, I don't think that he's a right winger. It is kind of tough because they have Jarvis, they have Stankoven, so I don't think he's ever going to be like a 65, 70 point guy. But I think there's a real possibility. And once you start stacking those steal of the deals like Stankoven, like Jarvis, then yeah, hopefully they can take the swing, which they tried to do on Mikko Rantanen. And we know that Eric Tulsky's willing to try to swing on these top guys, just about trying to convince them to stay long term. But yeah, he's just stacking, hopefully, these $1 to $2 million of surplus value on every single contract. So then he could potentially, they still have like $10 million of salary cap right now. I think
They do,
there's
and they
still a,
missed out on the top free agents this summer.
they got the best free agent, like
I
technically
like
free
Wheeler's a
agent,
lot, but
the
yeah,
one that among the ones that actually hit the market.
yeah, the ones that hit the market, which is
But
that's really the
we've talked
tough thing.
about
It
before.
ruined their plans. How many guys
Yeah,
re-signed in the 2 days before the market
but
opened?
we've talked about it before. Did we think Mitch Marner was like the perfect, like he's a good Rod Brindamore system player, but he's not what they needed. Like
I
none
mean,
of the
he's
top
a good enough
options.
playmaker that he could help lift them over the
Yeah,
top.
he'd be their best offensive player, like no doubt. But I don't like they're gonna have to, it's gonna have to be through trade most likely because guys just don't hit the
Yes,
open
yeah.
market anymore. Someone's gonna have to want out. They got to pray like Buffalo is horrible this season, and if they can bring in like a Tage Thompson, and although Thompson and Sebastian Aho aren't like top 7 centers in the NHL, like the aggregate of those two being your 1C and 2C would be good enough to win the Stanley Cup then.
Yeah, I think Tage is an impact player. Alex Tuck, pending free agent, probably more realistic of a get.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's just I'm no longer moved by Carolina getting like solid net present value for middle sixers.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you did it. I'm not moved by it.
Yeah, no, I think the Stankoven one was just really crazy because he was the leader in points per game in the
Yeah,
AHL,
Stankoven has real
then
offensive
jumped.
upside in
Yeah.
a way that I'm not at all sold on Jackson Blake.
Yeah, that is fair. And again, I think because of the role, I don't expect Jackson Blake to ever be a 75-point guy because he's kind of locked into that third right wing spot right now.
Yeah, so I mean, how much are you willing to pay a third line right wing? Like
That's as
5
good
mil isn't
defensively as him.
awful, but it's
Yeah, but
there are very good teams who will be paying less money to their third line wings
and
and
their
get
third
away with
line
it
wing
just
won't
fine.
be as good as Jackson Blake.
Next topic. Next topic. We're talking in circles here.
Lukasz Dostal, 5 years, $6.5 million. Yeah, he was good this season. Had a 903 save percentage and like 12 to 18 goals saved above expected, depending on what site you use. Last year wasn't as good in the AHL, though. He was like consistently between like a 912 to a 916 in his 3 seasons there. I think this objectively does have some serious risks because goalies are so wild. It could pan out in a big way, but I like it. I like it. If you're Anaheim, you have a lot of money. You might as well take the risk of something like this because if he is what he was this season, this is going to be really good value. He's not remotely close to all those guys that got $8 to $8.5 million like Swayman Olmark. So you're paying him just like solid starter money, which is soon in a year or two going to be kind of lower end starter money. He definitely has higher upside than guys we talked about like Aiden Hill. Thompson just signed after like 20 really good games, so it's kind of tough to compare him there. But I like it. He has to be the goalie of the future. If he's not the goalie of the future, Anaheim's kind of cooked. Not they can probably find some other guy, but like he is the only real legit goalie in the system. So you got to believe in him if you're Pat Verbeek because it's not like you have any real other options.
Yeah, I like this one fine, which is funny because I'm always the first one to hate on these goalie
Mm-hmm.
contracts where you give big term for small track records. But Dostal is young, so it makes sense that he's kind of inconsistent, but with real upside. I would much rather pay a young goalie this sort of contract than like an Aiden Hill, a 30-year-old
You'd
who had a
never want to.
one-time breakout year.
Yeah.
That's where it really gets risky to me. Um, Again, there is still risk here, right? Like Jeremy Swayman at the time of signing his contract, probably a better goalie than Dostal is today.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 year into the Jeremy Swayman extension, half the Bruins fans want him on
They hate
waivers.
him.
So there's always downside with goalies because consistent goalies are the hardest thing to find in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
There's literally like 6 of them. Like you can count on your hands how many actual consistent goalies there are.
Hellebuck, Shesterkin, Vasilevsky, Olmark in the regular season, I think, is very consistent. But even Brovsky's not the regular
Brzbrowski's not
person.
consistent at all. He has a
Ottinger,
high
I
ceiling,
guess,
but he's
and I'd
not
say
consistent at
Sorokin's
all.
like 7. My top 7 I would trust to give me like a 908 in the regular season, not even
Yeah,
like
like
a
7
914.
goalies who you look at, these are like legitimate, consistent guys. Everyone else, it's like, well, there's flashes of brilliance in there, but there's also long stretches where like he's actively losing you games with a rough
Mm-hmm.
stretch. Like Swayman has those valleys. But at the end of the day, like you said, he's the only true goalie in the system. He fits Anaheim's rebuild
Mm-hmm.
timeline. This is a logical bet to take. And if you need to buy him out like Cal Peterson, oh well, you made the logical choice at the time still.
Yeah, no, I'm going to sound hypocritical, but like I wish that it was like a 4-year deal. I think I said 4 years, 5.75 was like the number where I thought that'd be like perfect. He earned himself a decent pay, but had not quite proved it. I'm not going to like lose my mind that they added a year and bumped the AAV up $750,000. But yeah, it's going to be a real. We're going to know a lot about Dostal after next season, what kind of goaltender he is, just because the first season was kind of underwhelming and this year was good. It sucks that he's going to have to play in a tandem with Mrazek and Husso. He's probably going to have to play like 55 to 60 games because
Yeah,
they're going
that's
to have
the
to
other interesting
rely.
part too, is that his whole career so far, he's been in a tandem where like the Ducks don't feel bad going to the other guy. You
Yeah.
don't think, oh, Dostal's off tonight, we're gonna lose. Going into this season, they definitely should be thinking that. There's no reason to trust their backups this year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they can trade for another 5 Detroit Red Wing goalies,
Cam
and
Talbot, get ready. Once Kosa
yeah,
makes
but
the NHL team.
he matches the timeline of like the McTavish, Carlson,
Yeah. Yeah,
Zellweger
he's a 2018 draftee, but obviously goalies take a lot
goalies take
longer to
longer.
develop. So like he's hitting his stride right when they're also like hopefully reaching their prime relatively soon. Speaking of McTavish, if I'm him, like if it's a 4 or 5 year deal, I want like $7.5 million after Dostal, who's only had one like good season. I know McTavish has not had like an awesome season, but he's been a consistent like 50 to 55 point guy and is only 22 years old. Like I think this gives McTavish a little bit of leverage. I know it's a goaltender versus a forward, but Dostal got locked up.
I mean, I feel like everything Anaheim's done this summer has given him leverage. Like, oh, you guys are going to shell out for Chris Kreider and then be cheap to
Mikael
me.
Granlund, yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's definitely the next. There's still a couple RFAs out there. McTavish, Rossi. There's obviously like smoke that they could get moved. I don't expect that at this point.
McTavish isn't going to get
Yeah,
traded. No,
again,
I
like
do think he's going to be in the situation where they end up bridging because there's just no version of a long-term deal that team and player both agree
yeah.
on.
If I was the Ducks, I'd only offer him like 8 years, $7 million probably right now.
That's logical. And if I'm McTavish, I
Not
would
doing it.
say absolutely the hell not. Give me your best 3-year number and we'll renegotiate after I break out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely makes absolutely no sense there. We're gonna move on to Bowen Byram, 2 years, 6.25. They avoided him only taking a 1 year deal in arbitration or something like that. I really not much to say on this. I think it's fine. Like the idea of Byram is better than the actual player right now. The tools are still there. I like this for Buffalo because at least it gives you like another year to see if he can put it together, and then you can still trade him for assets this next summer. So yeah, I think it's okay by Buffalo, but I think they're just going to be in a tough spot probably next summer with another decision on their hands. But at least this isn't a 1 year deal where you have to trade him at the deadline or something like that.
I actually do have quite a bit to say on
Okay,
this one because I
go
feel
for it.
like this is a rare contract where both the team and the player are probably not happy with what ended up signing
Fair.
here. I mean, Byram's camp was extremely clear that he didn't want to be in Buffalo this upcoming season. Whether that's because he doesn't like the city of Buffalo or whether he just feels trapped on the depth chart and wants a bigger role, who can say? But his people made it pretty darn clear that he would be happy to sign an offer sheet and leave Buffalo. Like, if a competitive offer sheet was presented, I have no doubt he would have signed it and forced Buffalo to make a decision. So the fact that he ended up 2 years with Buffalo tells me that no one out there wanted to give him a long-term offer sheet, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
other teams agree with you that the idea of him is better than he is. Byram wants top pair money. Byram's actual track record, like what are we really paying for here? Well, he looked great in that cup run. He looked great in like half a season in Colorado before the concussion. And his Buffalo time has been basically a non-factor. Maybe it's the system holding him back, but to be fair, if the Sabres are going to bring in a big defenseman like Byram, you expect their defense to get better, at least somewhat, and that hasn't happened at all. He has not made Buffalo better in any noticeable way.
Yeah, it's just been like a weird fit. Like obviously they won that trade just because Casey Middlestat was like horrendous for the Colorado Avalanche, and then eventually got traded for Charlie Coyle. And they had to attach assets to Casey Middlestat, is $5.75 million. So like I guess they just did the deal because they like the player more, but they already had two left-handed defensemen on massive
Yeah,
contracts, and as a result, he's had to play the right side.
it's really strange, right? Because Buffalo is a bad team. They've been bad for a decade. They have so many needs as a team. And Bowen Byram is literally the one guy they don't need. They don't need a third left-handed defenseman, especially one that leans much more offense than defense.
I don't want power for that.
Yeah, it's a weird fit. It's a bad fit, and I assume Byram knows it's a bad fit and he wants somewhere that he can play 20 minutes a night on his preferred side, and Buffalo is never going to be that for him. As far as the Sabres are concerned, I don't think this is a great contract because it's a weird fit, right? I don't think you get any real value out of playing Byram the way they do. Like, the value is going to be, okay, he's going to exist this year. We're going to miss the playoffs again. Probably won't be terrible, but we're going to miss the playoffs again. I'd bet quite a bit of money on that. And then next summer, we're looking at trading him on a 1-year contract because he doesn't really want to be here and we don't need him here. It's fine. The value is fine money wise. It's just like, congratulations to Buffalo. You guys got your number 3 left D signed at market rate. And in 2 years, for a fact he's going to walk as a UFA. So clock is ticking on trading him.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like I think Byram's actually pretty happy with this just because it does walk him to unrestricted free agency, and he's
He's
going to have.
probably happy to get that 2-year deal because you can go straight to UFA. But again, I am sure without a doubt that if someone offered him a long-term offer sheet, he would have taken it. And the issue is that a team like Carolina, when they're looking at options for adding a decent defenseman this year, are looking at the cost of acquiring Byram either through a trade would take a first round pick probably, or the
Mhm.
offer sheet definitely would take a first round pick, and then giving him long-term money, and a team like Carolina saying, no, we're good. Actually, there are safer options out there for us.
I think that is fair, but I think he's kind of looking at the Jacob Chikrin model, who also had a deal that walked him to unrestricted free agency, and we were like shocked when he signed for 8 years, $9 million. But it made sense considering he's 26 years old, 6 years old, and becoming an unrestricted free agent. So I think that's kind of Byram. I think he's gonna see how it goes in Buffalo this year. If it doesn't go well, he's gonna be like, trade me to a much better spot where I can actually thrive next season. And then whatever team he goes to, he's gonna say, you better pay me right now, or like pay me a month or two into the season, or else I'm 1000% hitting the open market. So I think he just sees the blueprint with Chikrin, and he's going to try to repeat that. Granted,
Yeah,
Chikrin actually
the
did play
Chikrin
very good in
blueprint where you
Washington.
spend 2 years accomplishing nothing in the far Northeast and then get a second trade.
Yeah, no. In fairness, like, yeah, for Chikrin, he did hit the ground absolutely running on the Washington Capitals, and as a result, earned that 8 year, $9 million contract. And it doesn't look that bad right now compared to salary cap going up and all that stuff. But yeah, I think that's the Byram blueprint, and they're kind of similar vein of like young guys always had the tools. Chikrin, we always talked about the tools. Could he put it together? And he finally did. And for Byram, I think a team still will after next season, even if he doesn't absolutely kill it. I think a team probably will still take a bet on him on a 1 year flyer or something like that.
The main difference, I agree that that's probably what the blueprint is. It's just the main difference that I see is that Chikrin was playing big minutes,
Yeah,
big role
fair.
in Arizona. So there was enough of a track record
Yeah,
for
he was
other
good.
teams to feel more confident in that. Byram would have to be absolutely incredible for me to feel safe giving him an 8-year deal at this point.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it. Some NHL
Someone might.
GM that's
Yeah,
desperate probably will. I'm not looking at this logically. I'm looking at it like this as an NHL
fair
GM.
enough. Yeah.
I want to move on to the hot takes.
Let's move on.
Okay, I'll say my first one. I think this one is decently scorching. Mikhail Sergachev, top four Norris finish. When looking
Ooh.
at him, I this year after coming off a broken leg, he didn't absolutely kill it, but he played probably better than I was expecting. 53 points, handling 25 minutes a night, which is the sixth most in the NHL. When looking at the Mammoth, after all that they brought in and just the internal growth that they should have next season, just Sergachev playing that top power play. And when looking at like if the Mammoth make the playoffs and make the playoffs safely or something like that, Keller's not going to get any like heart buzz. Vejmelka's not going to be in probably like Vezina discussions. So although I don't think Sergachev's going to beat out like a healthy Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, or Adam Fox, I think that he can easily put up like mid to high 60s points, okay defensive analytics, and people just throw some votes his way. So top four. I thought top five might not be a little bit too hot, so I'm going top four. Top five's still pretty hot, but
I see the logic there. I mean, when you explain it like that, you're mostly looking at it as like if Utah is the surprise playoff
not even
team this
surprised. I think
year.
like people are expecting them to take this jump, but I'm just
Well,
saying like
just
I
like if
think
they're
Sergachev.
like the big take the
Mm-hmm.
leap, take the next step team, for a narrative, someone's going to be up there in awards, and Sergachev makes more sense than other guys. So I see it from that
Yeah, and
perspective.
he's had a 64-point season. Granted, he was on Tampa Bay, but also he was like only playing 22, 23 minutes a night behind Hedman. It's like just full run with it, fully healthy. I think he can pop off.
It's possible. Yeah, I see it. I see the
All
logic.
right, let's hear yours.
All right, my first take. Dustin Wolf has a huge down year, and Calgary is
Flip that,
bottom
flip
three
that.
in the league.
I could agree with
Um,
the bottom three, but let's hear it.
I don't think Dustin Wolf is going to be like a bad goalie or have a bad career. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is the team in front of him looks really terrible this year. Plus, young goalies, we've just been talking about it. Young goalies tend to be super inconsistent. I think Dustin Wolf has a bright future ahead of him. I think saying that a very good young goalie is going to have a big sophomore slump should not be that hot of a take, but it will be because everyone loves Dustin Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I said last year Jeremy Swayman will regress hard and Boston finishes bottom three, Boston didn't quite get there, but I would have ended up damn close.
Yeah.
I see Calgary following that path this year, especially if you end up trading Rasmus Anderson in January. That blue line is rough.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rough team in front of Wolf, and it's the kind of team
they got the worst contract in the NHL according to Magani. Kevin Ball's 6-year deal.
Kevin Ball is not great. It's not the worst contract in the league, but like he's a whatever defensive player. 6 years is a gamble there. But like Wolf doesn't even have to be analytically bad to have an under 90 save percentage based on the team in front of him. Again, factoring in, I expect Rasmus Anderson to not play most of the season in Calgary.
So you're saying like he's going to have like a 902 and like 7 goals saved to expect. You're not saying like 890, like it's Swayman. Like
I think 890 is possible.
890 flat or 890.
Look at it this way, right? Dostal had what, a 903 with 18 goals saved above expected.
Fair. The Ducks
you can be like 2 goals
3.
saved above expected and have your save percentage start with an 8. I think that's what we're looking at for Wolf this year.
You're saying like 896, not an 890 flat.
Under 90%.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I think the team Calgary might be pretty bad. Just considering again trading Rasmus Anderson, they probably should look at trading Nazem Kadri. They don't have any offensive difference makers. But I am high on Wolf. I don't think that he's going to take this sophomore jump to like a 915 and a Vezina finalist. It's hot. That's definitely a hot take. I'm always pretty anti-Calgary in terms of how good their actual team is. I think they have a decent future. So I'm not going to call you crazy for that. But some people are.
Yeah, here's where I think my take is more likely to than that like Vezina leap. I cannot think of a single goalie like ever in league history who had a great rookie year and then took a leap for an even better second year. Like goalies growing at a straight line pace just doesn't happen. They tend to be pretty inconsistent when they're young. I guess Shesterkin technically followed that model, but then Shesterkin hasn't matched that sophomore year since.
Yeah, Shesterkin's the one example, but I get what you mean. There is a rocky road sometimes with goalies in terms of their development. It's not forwards where you jump 12 points every year or something like that.
Yeah, like Ilya Sorokin, great goalie, franchise goalie. I like him. I think he's consistently very good. There was an entire year pretty early in his career. I forget if it was his third or fourth year where people were looking at it like, oh man, he might not be starter material. He's mostly the backup this year because that's how well he's played this year. And then he rebounded and continued to develop, but it's not a straight line for goalies. It almost never is.
Yeah. I think that's decently bold. My next one, sticking in the Western Conference, I think Jared Bednar is fired at some point. Whether it's because they got off to a slow start, whether because they lose early in the playoffs, that just loss to Dallas was so goddamn bad. And they weren't going to fire him in the moment because he still obviously won the cup in 2022. But me and you probably could have coached that team to a Stanley Cup. I just think McFarland's also on the hot seat, but I think that obviously they'll fire Bednar before they fire the general manager. I just think Colorado's a good team, but I could see them getting off to a kind of slow start. And if they don't make the Western Conference Finals, he just straight up should be fired at this point. People put him in the same regard as like a John Cooper and a Paul Maurice. I just kind of disagree with that. He's a good coach, but I think this might be the final year for him, considering Colorado has been extremely one of the most disappointing teams the last 3 years. Yes, they've consistently made the playoffs. They've only won one series the last 3 years. And although you won a Stanley Cup, that wears off quicker than people realize.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense to me. Most NHL coaches just don't have long shelf lives like that. Like the average cup winning coach is not coaching in the same city a decade from then. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's absolutely possible. The only way it doesn't happen, I mean, obviously, if they have a deep playoff run, like if you lose the Western Conference Finals to Vegas and Vegas wins the cup, or Edmonton and Edmonton wins the cup, and you look at that like a good season, you made progress, you're happy. Other than that, the only way I see him staying is if like Kale McCarr likes him so much that he makes that
Part
like a
of his
mandatory. I'm
negotiations.
only gonna
Yeah.
stay here if you keep Bednar.
Yeah. But yeah, just like if you don't make a Western Conference Finals in the 4 years after winning your Stanley Cup with Prime, McKinnon, and McCarr, that is an abject failure. The overall run with those guys, not an abject failure because you won that cup. But yeah, the goodwill runs out quick.
Yeah, agreed there.
What's your second hot take?
Second up here, I have the Flyers not making the playoffs, but making a Columbus last year type
You usually hate
really
on the
close
Flyers.
run
This is probably
that
actually bad for
shocks
their
a bunch
future,
of
not gonna lie.
people.
Probably should stop.
Yeah, I have doubts about the Flyers' future overall. As far as just this year, um, based on the analytics last
They were
year,
good.
this is a team with an average offense, a pretty good defense, and really, really terrible goaltending. But their goalies are young and showed some promise. There was that one Four Nations game where you're looking
Samberg,
at
you're
for
not
Sam
basing this
Ersson.
off the Four Nations versus the USA, I think, when they'd already advanced to the championship game.
I'm not saying the
Absolute
Flyers
shame.
are in a great spot, and frankly, for the sake of the franchise, being completely terrible would probably
That's
be
probably what's best.
better
Yeah.
off. Get that blue chip forward to match Michkov. That would be better for you than like a
Bit more
Columbus
tone.
style
You hate
run
more
where,
tone.
oh, we're good enough to not sell at the deadline and we end up finishing 10th in the conference.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just like happen to get lucky into average goaltending, that blue line right now is pretty decent.
Yeah.
Sanheim, Cam York, there's
Ristolainen has
enough
bounced
pieces
back.
there that like finishing as the 9 seed in the East wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what they did in the 2022 or 2023 2024 season. They far exceeded expectations just by playing like sound hockey. The first year coach bump is real with the guy like Rick Tocchet. My only thing is, yeah, they have Urson who's still only like 25 years old. They did bring in somebody, but it was like Dan Vladar, who was kind of shit in Calgary the last couple of years. Like they did not. If they
I don't
brought in
trust
like a Jake
Vladar at all.
Allen,
I'm thinking between Urson and that the Russian
Fedotov,
goalie
he was
who
over. Or
only played a couple
there's
games.
there's two Russians. I forget the other Russian, Fedotov and someone else. Remind me in the comments of you Flyer fans. But yeah, it's still arguably like the worst tandem in the NHL. Actually, I think no, but I take San Jose's with Askarov over them. The potential of Askarov. It's like it's still. Yeah, maybe I'm forgetting a tandem, but it's definitely a bottom two tandem in the NHL.
It's bad. Yeah,
In the
it's
forward
bad.
core, like that. That's just my one thing. Like, yeah, it was like near historically bad last season, but I don't think it's gonna improve that much. In Briere might still trade Ristolainen. He might. There's besides that, there's really nobody else on the team that he will move. And they are losing Scott Laughton, who although he's not some amazing player, they won't have him next season. It'll really just come down to Michkov taking a big step. They also traded Frost and Farabee, although they weren't really good on Calgary either. So yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
no, it's
I'm
a
low on
weird
Philadelphia, but I
overall
can see it.
spot, but an underrated point of the Flyers too is they get very good defense from their forwards. I mean, Sean Couturier cannot put up points anymore,
Mm-hmm.
but like, and you need a 1 seed. They don't have a 1 seed. They don't have anything close, which is
Jetlichenko in
obviously
the
a
system?
problem for a hockey team. Couturier is probably going to end up playing the most minutes there. But if you look at this, like the defense you're getting from 2C Couturier, 3C Noah
It's your
Cates,
boy.
that's
Yeah.
a really solid like defense to help out the goalie there.
Yeah, you're going to need, in order to be battling for a playoff spot, I think you're just going to need like an 85, 90 point season from Michkov, which is possible. He had 67 last year, and they should be more fun
And that was
offensively under
in like
Tocchet.
half of the season in the worst
Yeah.
situation
I think there's a
possible.
27 game stretch. I remember looking it up where he played like 12 minutes a night and had like 6 points. So like, yeah, he was like point per game the rest of the way. But yeah, that's definitely bold to a degree. If you're saying like 88 points, I guess that would be like not making the playoffs, but playing important games the final 2 to 3 weeks where you're still somewhat in it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's bold.
I'll say I guess 9 or 10 seed not
Yeah.
selling at the
I
deadline.
just think like another thing that's tough with that is there's no other objectively bad teams in the Eastern Conference. Versus the West, like
Buffalo.
I don't think Buffalo's that bad. I'm just saying like compared to the West where Chicago's still ass. San Jose's still ass. Like everybody, maybe my Islanders might end up being ass and selling, but like everybody is trying to be competitive. It's not like where you have 3 to 4 rebuilding teams and there might be more teams that continue to
The
sell.
Penguins are the main
Oh yeah,
one, but
Penguins.
it's
Yeah, of course.
just them.
I forgot
I
them.
agree. There's only the one team in the East that's truly tanking going into the year, whereas the West has a couple.
Yeah. And I don't see anybody like besides my Islanders really just like putting their hands up halfway through and saying like we're done. Like if Detroit does that, Steve Yzerman's fired. If Buffalo does that,
Can I do my third hot take?
Sure, go for it.
My third hot take, which I guess is related there, is that Detroit manages to take a step back, and this is finally the year.
I don't think that's that hot. That might be lukewarm. You're telling me the offseason of getting James Van Riemsdyk, dumping Tarasenko for nothing, and trading for John Gibson making $6.5 million doesn't get them over the hump?
I'm saying that I think this is the year that upper management in Detroit expects them to get over the hump.
Fair.
I think this is the season where they've said the rebuild's gone on long enough. You have your real starting goalie, make the playoffs this year.
That's fair.
And they're not going to make the playoffs this year. I see them being noticeably worse than last year.
Noticeably.
Which might not be that hot of a take, but I think it's at least like
they're like 85 points last year.
I think it's at least medium warm that
if you're saying they're going to be like a 78-point team, that's
because
hot.
They've been so loyal to Yzerman through this process.
If you're saying they're like high 70s points, that's hot then. If you're saying
I'll go there.
Okay,
yeah.
That's hot. That's a valid hot take. If you said like, oh, they put up another 85-point season, I'd be like, that's not that hot. But
yeah, no, I think they take a significant step back. I mean, it's how long do you really think that Patrick Kane can keep up like noticeable scoring?
You just gotta hope. The hope is Casper takes a big step. Edvinsson takes a big step. ASP maybe plays at the NHL level. Gibson can give you 906 and Talbot gives you 902. And then you could be battling for a playoff spot.
Yeah, so it's true there's a path, but there's also a path where Edvinsson, like, it's just not yet. He's not ready yet to be playing big minutes. And if he's not ready yet, this blue line is up there with the very worst in the league.
Yeah, after Mo
Seider, who even Mo Seider is not developed in the way that most people thought he should have.
Yeah, it's fair. After his rookie year, you thought he'd be like consensus top 12, 13 at this point. He's
that's a guy who has not really developed. He came into the league as a good player. He's still a good player. It's been like 5 years now waiting for him to take the step to great, and it hasn't happened yet. He has not taken that step from very good to great yet.
Yeah.
If he doesn't take that step, this blue line is so bad. You're going to have Ben Chirot, Eric Gustafsson logging up minutes, AHL roundabout. I think they could be set up for failure for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. If you're saying high 70s, that is bold. My last one is you hate Yzerman. I think that Alexis Lafreniere, who I've been dogging on of late, gets passed up by Will Cooley and Gabe Perreault on the depth chart and becomes like a third liner. It is clear that this guy, 2024, he was just playing. Yes, he only scored at even strength. He wasn't even on the top power play. But he was playing with Artemi Panarin on the second line and Vincent Trocheck. Like, I hated that narrative then. It's not like he was playing with Capo Caco and Philip Hedl and put up nearly 30 and 30. Yeah, I think Will Cooley is what they need more so in the top six in terms of a blend of skill and physicality with some of their guys like Artemi Panarin that maybe are on the smaller side. And I think Perreault just offers a lot more playmaking immediately right off the rip, definitely by like midway through the season. So Sullivan doesn't owe him jack dick. He's a new coach. He just wants to win. He doesn't care about developing young guys. And I think Will Cooley and Perreault are just going to have more of a pop for this Rangers forward core versus Lafreniere. Like, after he signed his contract 7 games into the season, was just half a point per game guy the rest of the way while still playing with Artemi Panarin. Like, I'm decently high on the New York Rangers. We might get into that with some of the awards. But yeah, I think that Lafreniere just doesn't move me. And I think this is the season where we realize that 2024, he might get back to 2024 form, but that clearly wasn't some huge progression step, more so as much as just on the President's Trophy winning team with 120-point heart level guy.
Cooley, I don't know, but I low key agree about Perot passing
Hmm.
him as like this is our great young wing who's going to be the best forward on the team for the next like the post Panarin era.
Yeah, yeah, especially as like learning from Panarin, like as a more so of a playmaker passer. Like I think Perot just they'll try to give him somewhat of an opportunity. They'll let him sink or swim, and I think that he will swim to start out.
I
Hope that he
agree.
doesn't,
Yeah,
but
he's going to
he's
get
a
thrown
Ranger.
into
But
minutes and like you said, Mike Sullivan, A, he wants to win now with this group. B, he has no loyalty to any of these players. So I think he's going to throw Perot into the fire, like you said, and just anyone who plays well is going to get
mhm.
moved up the depth chart. Anyone who struggles is going to get moved down.
and I,
If you're not performing up to your level, I'm not loyal to anyone. I'll healthy scratch anyone if you're not
and
playing
it's another
well.
situation where come deadline time, if he's not killing it, could they potentially package him for a bigger name akin to a JT Miller? Someone
I
would
don't
probably bet
know.
on that contract.
I don't know just because if he's not performing well, I don't know how many teams are going to be interested in taking on the risk of like, oh, is this just a shit
Yeah,
contract?
no, that's fair, but I'm just saying, like shipping out, maybe they take on a not too appetizing contract and give up Alexi Lafreniere, who maybe still has some value in the process,
It's
like
possible, yeah.
reclamation project for reclamation project or something like that.
Yeah, like as
You
the
attach a
like
second round pick
Norris
to him.
for Cousins type swap,
Yes,
I can see
yes,
that.
and maybe they have to attach a second round pick to it to kind of get it done.
I can see that happening, yeah.
Yeah. You're low on Eisman. I'm low on Lafreniere. We're going to move on to our NHL awards. We're going to go through the big four: the Hart, the Norris, the Calder, and the Vezina. For the Hart, we can't pick McDavid. That's fair. For the Vezina, we can't pick Connor Hellebuck. We don't want to be basic. Those two are like the pretty heavy favorites. Which one do you want to start with? Do you want to work our way up or do you want to blow the load early? Let's start with the Hart.
Um, let's blow the load early because I feel like it's my least interesting answer,
Okay.
honestly.
All right. Hart winner next season. 3, 2, 1. Matthews.
Kaprizov. Ooh,
Damn. I don't want to pick. I'm always so high on Kaprizov. I'm going with Austin Matthews. Even though Mitch Marner is gone, I think that as a result, he's going to have to carry the load. And when looking at Austin Matthews, yes, he has been hurt. He was hurt last year, still had like 85 points in 73 games. But when he is healthy, he's the best goal scorer in the NHL. Again, he's going to have to carry the load. He's going to be playing with Matthew Nyes, who hopefully takes a step. I think Matthias Michelli, although not as good as a Mitch Marner, no duh, can kind of supplement some of that playmaking. And yeah, I could see just a reminder season that I'm still the best goal scorer in the NHL. I'm going to go for 65 goals, 115 points, and will my team into a top 2 spot in the Atlantic Division. The power play started off rough last year under Berube. I know the power play won't now have Mitch Marner, but after the first month of the season where they were in dead last, they went at 27.7%, which was second in the NHL, only behind the Tampa Bay Lightning. So yeah, I mean, I don't think the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to be as good of a team because they lost Mitch Marner, but I think that Matthews is going to pop off and absolutely dominate.
I
19 to
don't
1 right now.
agree, but I definitely see your logic there. It would make for a really good narrative if Toronto can be equally good without Marner.
Yeah, and especially
That would make for a really compelling narrative to boost up
if he
Matthews for
drives this
sure.
line of Nyes in gets Michelli 65-ish points just because he's such a dominant goal scorer yet again. Like he has a pattern. He's healthy one year, 2022, scores 60 goals. Not healthy the next year, then puts up 69 goals. Then not healthy. Apparently he's been rehabbing. He's going to be good to go. Going to win the Rocket Richard. So it's a
I can
basic pick
see
for the
that.
Rocket Richard, but I think for the Hart, it is a little bit of a spicy pick. I think he's like 19 to 1 right now.
Yeah, it's definitely not the most obvious pick because the most likely outcome is, Matthews has a pretty good season, but not at his peak levels, and Toronto takes a step back. So the idea of giving an award to someone from Toronto would just seem kind of ridiculous at
Mm-mm.
that point. Uh,
It's your
my
Kaprizov. I
Kaprizov
ain't going to
reasoning
disagree
is
with
pretty
this.
straight. What?
I ain't going to disagree with this.
Yeah, my Kaprizov reasoning pretty straightforward. At the time that he got his first injury last year, he was leading the Hart race. That shouldn't be controversial. We did this show in I forget when it was, first week of December maybe. Who's the Hart pick right now? We both agree it's Kaprizov. Then he gets hurt, misses time. When he's out, Minnesota is
Yes.
really rough. They are not a playoff team when he's out.
Which, in fairness,
We
Joel
saw that
Eriksson was
very
out for a while
literally
too.
by point paces. That Minnesota was like the third best team in the league when Kaprizov played, and they were below the 8 seed cutoff when Kaprizov didn't play.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's healthy, if he carries them to a solid finish, I think this is going to be his year.
Yeah, and he really is the one guy that is like so far and away clearly the best player on his team.
Yeah, that's a real example of truly carrying,
Yeah.
which makes sense with your pick too, right?
But
It's
even
possible
Nylander's
that in a
still
post
great.
Marner world, Matthews is truly
Yeah,
carrying.
like Nylander's still great. I like Matt Boldy. He ain't as good as William Nylander right now. Kaprizov truly carries that team, and it happens every single goddamn year. Versus some of the other guys, like McDavid, obviously has Draisaitl. Kucherov has Point, Hagel, Hedman. McKinnon
McKinnon
has
as
Makar.
McCarr.
Like, yeah, so like if he can stay healthy, he can easily go for 55 goals, 60 assists, 65 assists, 115, 120. That's what he was on pace for before he got hurt. And that was
Yeah,
like
and it's
35
also, I
games.
think, worth saying like Kaprizov doesn't have to lead the league in any category to win the Hart. Like I feel like McDavid has to lead the league in points to win a Hart because that's what his expectation is.
Mm-hmm.
Kaprizov can be like fourth in the league in points, and
Second in goals
people,
or something.
yeah, and people will say like, "Oh, he carried his team to the playoffs." Give him benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. Again, I glazed the fuck out of Kaprizov, so you're not going to hear any arguments. I just didn't want to be like too basic and because last year I picked McDavid just because it's fucking McDavid, but Kaprizov was my runner up dark horse pick for that. I looked like a fucking genius for the first 35 games, and then he got hurt. The only problem with that also is I think he has been kind of consistently hurt the last couple of years. I think he played 67 games 2 years ago. 2024, I think he played like 75, so that is something to monitor. But I'm picking Austin Matthews, who was also always hurt. But we're betting on a healthy
He can win a
season.
Hart with 75
Yeah,
games. I
I
don't
mean,
think that's a deal breaking amount of missed
Draisaitl
time.
finished second this year with like 72 and was somewhat close.
Yeah.
You wanted
I
to...
think that just this being his contract year, especially,
True.
he's probably looking at a record-setting contract
Mhm.
next year, whether that's with Minnesota or someone else. So I think that's going to be extra motivation to play through it because he is going to get paid next summer.
Yeah, if he is obviously right now, if he signed a long-term deal, it'd be 8 years, 14.5, 14.75. But if he was a Hart winner or even a Hart finalist, that probably goes up.
Could be the first
15.5.
15 mil player. Might not be the only 15 mil player next summer, but he could absolutely be the first one.
Yeah, definitely. So Kaprizov and Matthews, as long as they can stay healthy, they're going to carry their absolute teams. I want to jump over to the Calder. For this one, we're also not going to pick Demidov because that's kind of basic as well. He's like plus 250, and then the next closest guy's like plus 10,000. 3, 2, 1. Sam Rinzel.
I'll go with Perot. I don't have a strong take on any of this, but he's going to be I'll just go quick because I don't have too much to say here. Like we said, he's going to be in the top 6, probably sink or swim for a team that should be playoff caliber.
Mm-hmm. That's all.
That's all I have. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fair. I think my problem is with this Calder field. It's kind of like, I think a lot of these guys are going to have fantastic careers, but next season, nobody really has like that great of an opportunity. Like Perot, as you mentioned, like he easily could just be stuck on that third line and just put up like 30, 35 points. Like that is well within reason. That's possible with Snuggerud. Misa in San Jose is probably going to be in the second line playing with like Jeff Skinner. Nikishin might be on the top line or top power play, but probably only going to play like 18 to 19 minutes a night. Zeev Boya might be on the top power play, but he's like Minnesota's 5th defenseman. So I'm just going to go with the guy. Again, I would pick Demidov, but we're not picking him. I'm just going to go with the guy that might be a legit number 1 defenseman next season in Sam Rinzel. Not saying he's going to be like a top 25 defenseman, but going to have to play 23, 24 minutes a night. That's what he did in Chicago in his final 9 games. He played 23 minutes, had 5 points in 9 games. So I think it's just possible. He was on the top power play. He's going to be playing with Alex Vlasic, so he's not going to be completely out there on his own. He's going to be playing with a very good defensive defenseman. So yeah, I just think the opportunity is there for him to run with it. I could see 35 to 40 points, playing 23-30, and having okay analytics on such a bad team. Like somehow he's 50 to 1 right now, and Leshinov's 30 to 1. That's ridiculous. Rinzel's going to play way more than Leshinov. Leshinov might have the better career. But yeah, I'm decently eyeing Sam Rinzel. If Rasmus Anderson got traded before the season, I'd pick Zane Parekh. But right now, I think Rinzel just makes the most sense because I know I'm getting a huge opportunity versus a bunch of other guys could easily just fluctuate.
I was actually going to mention Zane Parrick
Mhm.
because it sounds silly, but we might end up with kind of a vote split of like, oh, if you value empty calorie points. Yeah, there's like a lot of outside noise. Sorry. Like if you value empty calorie points from a defenseman on a dog shit team, you might end up with two like equally compelling options, which would probably hurt both of their cases because whether that's whoever it is, if it's Demidov or maybe Ryan Leonard, like someone who's contributing decently to actual winning
They're just not going
hockey
to play that much. Yeah.
versus like, oh well, he put up 60 points on the blue line in games that didn't matter that no one
60
watched.
points. Yeah, I just think I think Rinzelli also, although Chicago won't be a relevant team in terms of the playoffs, he will play in a big market in terms of Chicago. He will get some love if Bedard can really break out. Rinzel could go for 40, 45 points. I don't think that he's, in terms of who's going to have the best career among rookies, I don't think Rinzel is up there with some of these guys. But I think just slotting him in next year, their defense core sucks, but he's going to play a lot. He's going to have a solid partner. Their power play, if Bedard's good, could be like half decent. So yeah, I think Rinzel is great value, and I think that he is the second most likely. But again, Demidov is like the clear favorite in my opinion, just because I think he's going to be on the top power play. He's going to play a lot. Montreal's going to be a fun team offensively, but in terms of second, it's wide open.
Yeah, big role and in games that matter. I mean, that was sort of a point last year, right, when it was a very close 1-2 race for most of the season. But
Mm-hmm.
it to me at least, it felt like part of the tiebreaker at a certain point became, well, the games Lane Hudson is playing in actually matter,
Yeah,
and the ones Macklin Celebrini's playing in don't. And that was kind of, for me at least, like the big differentiator
that's
at a
fair.
time when they felt basically tied.
Yeah, and especially with Hudson, like he started off as like their number 4 defenseman and just continued to grow. And as a result, the Montreal Canadiens continued to win games. Like you could see the direct tie. He might have been their second most valuable player that season, only behind, actually probably third, Montembeau and Nick Suzuki. But yeah, that's fair. I'm obviously picking a guy that I think is going to be on a dog shit team, but I just think the opportunity is too good to overlook. Let's do the Norris. Probably pick who mine is. No surprise here. 3, 2, 1. Adam Fox.
Adam Fox.
Yeah, I think we could tackle this together. I've said it 9,000 times. He's going to have Gavrikov, who probably is his best partner to date. He has had the offensive seasons to be in the mix with a Makar, with the Hughes. He had 73 points in 72 games in 2024 with 17 goals, and just analytically is a demon every single season. If you told me that Quinn Hughes and Makar were fully healthy, I probably would take them over Adam Fox, but I don't want to pick the two favorites. So we're going with Adam Fox. I've talked about this at length. You take the rest for other reasons.
My note here is one sentence long. It is never played with a partner as good as
Mm-hmm.
Gavrikov. That's the beginning and end of why this feels like Fox's Norris
And
year.
also just in terms of a narrative, going the Rangers missing the playoffs too. I
Yeah,
think they
missing the
probably won't make
playoffs.
the
If they
playoffs.
get back this year,
That
then
helps.
the writers will want to credit someone for that.
Yeah.
Narrative wise, Fox probably the easiest one, unless Shesterkin breaks out. Who
All right,
knows?
let's go. Speaking of, let's go to the Vesna. Can't do Hellebuck here. 3, 2, 1. Shesterkin.
Jeremy Swayman. Don't don't shoot. Don't
I'll
shoot.
let you go first. I'll save my Rangers glaze, I guess.
All right. So, Jeremy Swayman, as we've said a couple times in a couple different segments of this episode alone, not the most consistent goalie. Very inconsistent, matter of fact. But he has a high ceiling. We know he does have a high ceiling. We've
Yeah,
seen that
definitely.
ceiling as it was essentially as the 1B, but over a full season where, oh, if he was starting on his own, he might end up with significant Vezina votes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the season Olmark won his Vezina. Swayman's numbers were basically just as good. I don't think Boston is going to be bad this year. I don't know if they'll be great, but I think last year the team struggle and Swayman's struggle, a lot of it was like start of the season, Swayman's shaky after the extension.
He
Uh,
wasn't there for like the start of this, like the training camp and all that. He got thrown.
yeah, he's took long to settle in, and then by the time he does get settled in, both of his top two defensemen are out for the season.
Yep.
Like, of
Fair.
course, you're going to put up bad numbers when both of your top two defensemen are out for the season. McAvoy and Lindholm will be back, which means Boston has two high-level defensemen that they didn't have for Swayman for a good chunk of last year. I think he can rebound and win the Vezina. Again, it's like partly a narrative type thing, right? Like, oh,
Fair.
it's boring to give it to the same few guys over and over again. Swayman may be kind of like carrying this team.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I made a Vezina related post and I was like, yeah, the lows with Swayman like absolutely suck, but this guy through his first 3
The
seasons of
highs
the
are high.
NHL
The
was
lows are
absolutely
low,
insane.
and the
Yeah.
highs are high.
Yeah, in terms of if we're not doing Hellebuck, it is kind of wide open beyond that. In terms of guys, I just don't think Boston's going to win enough games. Like I feel like for the Vezina, you kind of do got to make the playoffs. I think that like every
I
Vezina winner
agree with that.
ever has.
I don't.
Not saying you
I
need to
don't
win
know if
40
they'll make the
games.
playoffs. It's possible they do. I mean, I don't know if I expect them to, but I think it's definitely possible. Swayman carries them there with 920 hockey
I think it would be
for 60
Pasternak more
games.
so carrying them there. If we were to say.
I mean, if he's going to put up like a 920-ish, which he's
Yeah.
shown that ability before at his peak.
Well, the thing is, he's shown the ability, but it was only in 43 games.
Yeah, in half a season as a 1B.
Yeah, so that is my one concern. I'm going with Shesterkin. I don't like this Rangers team like overall. I still think outside of that top pair, it's not a good defense score. The forwards are getting up there in age, and some of them are just not very good. But I think Shesterkin and Fox just absolutely carry this team. Talking about narratives going from missing the playoffs to making the playoffs, Shesterkin every single year in the regular season has been pretty damn elite. Last year had a 905, but it was because the defense was so bad. He still had like 18 goals they'd have expected. And I think, especially talking about the opportunity, as I don't know if you mentioned it, but like Swayman makes sense because Korpisalo sucks. He's gonna have to play so many games. Jonathan Quick's like basically washed up at this point. He had a good first year in New York, but last year was like an 896 or something like that. So he's probably gonna have to play 62, 64, maybe 65 games. So I think compared to the other top guys, Bobrovsky's not cracking over 55 games, probably. Vasilevsky probably playing in the 50s. They're not going to overwork him. They'll make the playoffs. Versus Shesterkin, I think will have to carry a decent amount, and he's been arguably the most consistent regular season goalie since 2021, besides Connor Hellebuck, especially analytically. So yeah, his defense score is going to be better, although it still won't be good. Will be much better next season. So I think I'd take Shesterkin. I would pick Hellebuck right now again, but
I actually wouldn't.
you wouldn't?
Because I do believe
Like,
that they're going to rest him. They're not going to play him enough for him to get
it's
up.
just one of those things like versus like compared to I guess like maybe I wouldn't I'm probably end up picking Shesterkin, but like gun to my head, I'm still picking Hellebuck, if that makes sense.
It makes sense, but
I
just
don't
for me
do that for every
personally,
pick, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not feeling like overly confident. And so, I mean, goalies year to year are kind of a crapshoot. But I would say you didn't need to add the no Hellebuck disclaimer because I wouldn't have picked him anyway. I truly do believe Winnipeg's going to look at this like, okay, we need to rest him for the playoffs. We're going to give 30 games to the backup.
Yeah, Comrie was good last year. But okay, then maybe I'm sticking with Shesterkin's because yeah, he's gonna have to play a lot. He is just brilliant, no doubt, top 3 goalie in the NHL. And I look at the other guys. I think Jake Ottinger could be a decent shout when looking at it. He's probably gonna have to play 55, 60-ish games, and Dallas is gonna be good. But outside of that, besides Shesterkin, I don't see anybody in more of an opportunity where there might be more of a narrative to kind of win the Vezina Trophy.
Yeah, the only other name I thought about, which is also like a crazy hot take name, is the narrative would look really good for UC Saros if Nashville managed to bounce back.
That would be crazy.
Which I don't expect to happen, but that's another goalie who Saros at his ceiling is Vezina type caliber. We've seen him put together a full season run where he was on that tier of serious Vezina contenders.
Yeah, I think from 2021 to 2023, he put up a 927 in the COVID shortened season, then like a 918, then a 919, and that was in like 64 games the 2 other seasons. Yeah, other
I don't think it'll
contenders.
happen because the team is too bad in front of him. But if by some miracle Nashville ends up making the 7 seed, the narrative for Saros would
That's
be
fair.
really good.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think like who else will play huge games. Dustin Wolf probably will have to play a shit ton, but again, we
Dustin
we
Wolf will play a
we don't think
ton.
Calgary's gonna be good enough for him to be in the mix. Mackenzie Blackwood might have to play 55-ish games. I don't think that he's good enough, but if Colorado, I'm saying that Bednar's going to get fired, so obviously I don't think Colorado's going to be next level. But that's like a possibility. Aiden
Jacob
Hill.
Markstrom, they're going to want to play that many games, but at his age, I don't
No, I
think he
mean they
can
got
hold up
Allen. Allen
for
was
it.
really good last year. He's not going to play that much, but Gustafson, if Wallstead stinks, could be like a sleeper potentially. He was great
That's a
last
good
year.
sleeper, yeah.
Kemper with that defense score, I mean, he might be cooked. But yeah, I think yeah, Shesterkin. Swayman's definitely a good long shot. I would love to see. I'm not gonna pull it up right now, but the odds have to be like
I'm
30,
sure the
40 to
Vegas odds are
1.
terrible, which
Yeah.
would make it a good pick there.
But no, Renzel 50 to 1. That's actually I will put I'm gonna put some money on that for sure. Bet responsibly. We moved the Adam Fox market from 35 to 1 to 20 to 1. A legendary moment by the M voters. Hopefully you guys got involved on that. But yeah, this has been in the box. We went for a solid hour 10. We might be back next week if something happens. Definitely probably back in 2 weeks. We're gonna start like doing our preseason predictions and stuff like that. Thank you guys for watching. Babiak, anything else you got to say?
Uh, Leave comments down if you want us to do a fantasy type preview episode. I
That's a
think
great
that would
idea.
be fun if we need to fill time in
Yeah,
August, like a fantasy hockey specific episode, sleepers, busts, all that stuff.
yeah. Just anything for the next 2 months to get us through until the NHL season starts up. We greatly appreciate your ideas and might end up using them. We'll be seeing in the next one. Peace.